afternoon. It is Sunday the 4th of August and I am exactly 4 weeks away from my next big race. I'm not going to reveal exactly what the race is just yet because later in the video I'm going to talk through the full race, what my goal is, how my training's going, and a little bit about the race itself later on, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm just out here getting my run done. God, sounds like it's a tough one, but breathing's a bit high. Just come up a massive hill, so maybe that's what it was. But I'm just gonna get some nice easy miles in today. Originally it was 90 minutes off-road. I've got a lot of the off-road stuff done already. However, I've been in Brighton this weekend. We had a really nice wedding to go to, so had a lot of travel, a lot of driving, 2 or 3 late nights, so I've just chopped the session down a little bit. Nice and cruisy on a Sunday evening. 4 weeks to go. I'm going to talk a lot more about what the race is, what my plans are, etc. in the next part of this video. But for now, just come and join me on a nice cruisy ride.
So, just got back from my long run. As I mentioned in my run, I am competing in my next race, which is 4 weeks away. So today, Sunday, the 4th of August. In 4 weeks' time, I'm going to be taking part in the Cheltenham Half Marathon. So the Cheltenham Half Marathon is a pretty big race to me. I've run it quite a few times before. It's a 13.1 mile distance. It starts and finishes at the racecourse. Cheltenham Racecourse is a big famous racecourse in the town that I live in. The race starts there, it runs all the way through Cheltenham, so it goes past the town hall, it goes past the Montpellier Gardens, it goes past the pump rooms, and it finishes back at the racecourse. So it's a pretty epic race. There's always huge crowds, it's always really well supported, it's normally quite hot, but it's a race that I've chosen to enter and it's in 4 weeks' time. So I've been thinking quite a lot about this race and in terms of what I want to achieve out of this race and what my targets are, and it's really quite difficult, and I'm just going to explain to you why I'm finding it quite difficult in pinpointing exactly what it is or time that I want to run. So if I just look through some of my previous half marathon results, so if I look at my last 3, I did all 3 of these at the start of this year. I squeezed 3 in quite close together. Whether that was the right thing to do, I'm not sure, but I got a little bit quicker each time and I found myself in some good shape. So in February this year, I ran in the Brighton Half Marathon and I did 1:12:30. I then a month later ran the Bath Half Marathon in 1:12:15, and then my last one I finished off was Gloucester in 1:11:56. So each of my half marathons I was progressing by 20 seconds roughly each race. Now looking at that, I straight away would say, well, surely then in this race I should be targeting something like a 71:30 or a 71 low, or maybe even faster than that. But that's not the case for this time around, and the reason why is because the race that I'm going to do at Cheltenham Half Marathon, in my opinion, is a tougher route than all 3 of those courses, but it's also, for me, I struggle quite a lot in terms of the temperature. The last 3 years that I've ran this race, the temperatures have probably been between 18 and 20 degrees, and personally, I struggle with the heat. I'm not making excuses, that's just how I perform. When it's colder, my times have been faster. When it's been hotter, my times have been slower, and that's something that I'm working on. So if I look at my last 3 performances at Cheltenham specifically, they drop off massively compared to what I've just said there. So in 2019, admittedly I was a lot slower back then, but I ran a 1:25. In 2021, I ran a 1:15. That year I ran a 1:13, so I was 2 minutes slower. And then in 2023, I ran a 1:16. So last year I ran a 1:16, and then 5 months later I ran a 1:12. So for me, this race is something that I've always struggled with. However, for this race, my target is going to be to try and go under 72 minutes. Now, that's quite a big difference between my PB at Cheltenham from 2 years ago to my PB from Cheltenham, well, hopefully what my PB is going to be. It is quite a bit of difference, but I feel confident. My training's been really good. So at the moment, I've been training with 2 big sessions a week. So that's one with my team, and then the other one with a few of us that go down to the track, still with a team, but a smaller group. So on our main session with the team, there's probably 40 to 50 guys and girls, and we do longer reps. We work at half marathon pace, we work at tempo pace, 5k pace, 10k pace, and those sessions typically can be 12 to 14 kilometers worth of work. I'm also running to and from those sessions, so I'm getting in 22 to 25k at those sessions, and they're really good because it feels like a long run as well as a session. And then on Friday evenings, I'm training at the track, so at my local track, and I'm working at 3k pace, 5k pace, I'm working at 800 meter pace, I'm doing 200 meter reps, I'm doing 400 meter reps, I'm doing 800 meter reps. I'm doing a lot of speed focused work, something that isn't my strength, but it's something I know I've got to work on. The top end speed, you hear people all the time talking about top end speed. It's something I don't have enough of, so I'm working quite hard with that. As well as I feel I'm working on pretty consistent mileage. So the last few weeks my mileage has been around 100 kilometers a week. I know I said mileage and it's in kilometers, that's how us runners talk, I don't know why, but I'm doing 100 kilometers, a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, and that's been quite consistently. I've always wanted to do that sort of numbers. I wanted to do more, but I've always done it for 1 week and then dropped off the next week, and then the week after I might have had a race, so I dropped down again. But at the minute I'm in this real sweet spot of hitting 100 kilometers a week with 2 sessions and a long run. So for me, that's how I've gained my confidence. I'm hopeful that this race I can achieve under 72 minutes. That is the plan. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. For me, my long-term goal is to get under 70 minutes. I know I can do it. I know it's possible. I know I've got to train hard. I know I've got to be consistent, and this probably isn't the race. That's always in the back of my mind. If I can get a sub 72 minutes here, I will be delighted, and I think for me that'd be a really, really good outcome for this race. So the route itself starts and finishes at the Cheltenham Racecourse. The first half of the race is pretty flat. It's quite easy to get a good rhythm in, and in fact the last 2 times that I've raced the Cheltenham half, I felt really good on this part of the race. I know it's quite easy to say, especially when you feel fresh, but the first half of the last 2 races I've done at Cheltenham have gone really well, and it's only really when you get into the second half of the race that I tell myself this is when the hard work and the real race begins. So as you hit the halfway mark, you then face with a bit more of an undulating second half of the race. So you head up something called the Honeybourne line in Cheltenham, which is this long path. It's really pretty, but for me mentally, I've always struggled at this part of the race. So you hit the Honeybourne line, you go up the top of the Honeybourne line, and then you enter back out onto the roads, and then you go up and down a couple of times, and that's really hit me. Now there is a route change this year to the Cheltenham Half Marathon, which I'm really happy with, because in the previous years you always would finish at the race course and you would do 1.5 miles to 2 miles around the race course. Now this is an undulating racetrack. It's not on tarmac, it's normally like a country path surface. You're always running on your own unless you're in a group, but predominantly you're running it on your own. It's boiling hot, there's no one about at the race course, and it's always an absolute killer at the very end of the race. I know last year the race organisers had a few issues, so they've changed it, and this year they've taken it out and they've added an extra little bit in the middle part of the race. So it's really exciting. It should hopefully make it a little bit quicker than what it normally is. Yeah, so that's the race I've chosen to go for. I'm really excited and can't wait, and that's 4 weeks today. So the amazing thing about this race is it's not just me that's taking part. I've got so many family and friends, and it's actually a friend's birthday on the same day as well. It feels like this is a big occasion, and it's not just about my race. I'm thinking about who's racing it on the day itself. So my partner Vicky, she's going to be running. There's a 10k race on at the same time as well, which is really cool. So she's going to be doing the 10k. She's been smashing her train at the minute, and I'm so proud of her journey and what she's been doing at the moment for her running. My dad's also racing in the half marathon with me. We've done the same race together for the last 3 times that I've done it, so it's always so cool to have him racing with me. He's trying to get a good for age entry into London for next year, so he needs to run under 1:44. He will do that comfortably. If he doesn't, I'm gonna, well, he will do. I'm not even gonna give that scenario. So, and then I've got friends that are also racing. So my good friend George and his sister, she's also doing her first half marathon, so that's gonna be really cool. George has been training really well. He's He's just smashed his last 10k, so he's going well. And it's actually his and Alice's dad's birthday. It's his 60th, so we're all gonna have a nice celebration after the race. I'll bring the camera with me. We'll share his birthday celebration, so that's going to be really cool. My cousin Tom is also racing, so it's really cool that loads of my family and friends are going to be there. We're all going to be sharing the day. There's going to be loads of supporters there. If you're watching this and you're thinking about entering, you haven't got long, just enter. It's such a good race. The event is so well organised. I think there's 4,000 or 5,000 people that take part in it, so it's a really big local race. The field's normally pretty quick as well. The guys at the front, some of the guys from my club, a couple of guys, a lad called Dom, watch out for him. I'm sure he'll place highly. I think he's won the last few. I know Ben's also a really cool runner. He's been in one of my previous videos. He's won it before, so he's in with a shout. So the race is 4 weeks from today. I cannot wait. Genuinely really excited for this one. It should be a lot of fun. Like I said, not going to be my fastest ever half marathon, but it's going to be one that I get more excited about than probably any other race I do. So 4 weeks away, let's have it.